Hello, Americans. I'm Paul Harvey. You know what the news is. In a minute, you're going to hear the rest of the story. Now, the rest of the story. Bill Hammond was barely 26 when he testified against the governor of Kansas. Kansas was only a territory back then in 1854, but Andrew Reeder was its governor, and his aim was to establish a city, the new territorial capital, on a site near Fort Riley. Well, Bill Hammond was in the Army Medical Corps, stationed at Fort Riley, and when he learned of Governor Reeder's plan, he figured a way to get rich off the new town site. He would stake a claim to it himself and force Governor Reeder to buy him out at an inflated price. Reeder contended that Hammond had no rightful claim to the land in the first place, and eventually a commission was appointed to settle the dispute. Young Bill Hammond's testimony infuriated the governor, who vowed that he would never forgive, he would never forget, and he did not. But this is the rest of the story. When the Civil War broke out, the Union Army called every available doctor and surgeon to the battlefront. Bill Hammond was among them, and he did his job well. But then in July of 1863, Secretary of War Stanton appointed a special commission to examine the affairs of the medical department, a three-man civilian commission. The most prominent influential member was Andrew Reeder. That's right, the former governor of Kansas Territory. Perusing the records today, there seems little doubt that Reeder's main objective was to crucify his old adversary, Bill Hammond. The findings of the commission regarding Hammond were as damning as possible without being specific. Quote, disorders and neglects to the prejudice of good order and military discipline. Quote, conduct unbecoming an officer and a gentleman. It was these findings which translated as direct charges in Hammond's court-martial, which resulted in a verdict of guilty and a dismissal from the Army and prohibition from ever again holding office in the United States, ever again. And yet once upon a wartime, there was one man who historians say made the crucial difference. They say that had it not been for this one man's contribution, had he not been there to reorganize the disheveled United States Medical Department, to establish a highly efficient ambulance and field relief system, to control the epidemics that might have decimated the troops, that had this one man not been there to do all that, the North almost surely would have lost the war. Yet you may never have met this man until today. Because years before the war began, years before, he made an enemy who neither forgave nor forgot. And do you know it was over a land squabble which was so insignificant that nobody can recall how it was resolved. Nobody can remember even what the squabble was about. Bill Hammond might have been hailed in the history books alongside Lincoln and Grant. But instead, you have waited until right now to hear about William A. Hammond, who, by the way, was more than a surgeon during the war between the states. He was the United States Surgeon General. And now you know the rest of the story.